Joining me now, Congressman, 9th District, Virginia Republican, Morgan Griffith. I got to get my weekly Griffith fix. Congressman, good to have you with us.
It's good to be with you, and certainly look forward to your son coming to Radford if that's where he wants to be. But it's a great school, and he'll have to do some studying because they have a great academic reputation as well.
Well, the other thing, they got a leg up there. He loved the coaching staff, but also they have this massive baseball workout facility. I mean, it's bigger than UVA, so he was very impressed with that. Plus, they have the major he wants, which is athletic training. So they got a lot going from there. But obviously, you know, it's like the Radford baseball people have to like him and want to give him a scholarship. So it's a two-way street. We'll see how it plays out. But as you know, Congressman, left-handed pitchers who are freshmen who can throw in the 80s, they're a premium. So we'll see how it goes, right? You never know what happens at this stage. Okay, looks like we got a deal on the table. The president says, I'm going to sign it reluctantly. What do you think?
Well, as of last night, they hadn't gotten us the printed version. Maybe it came out sometime in the middle of the night. That's the way they work it. I've got to read through it, but from what I've heard, I'm not happy with it either. The president has a tough decision because even if he doesn't like it, as you've said many times, the American public doesn't have the stomach for another shutdown.
Yeah.
At this point, and but it does. Listening to your clips, Chuck Schumer's driving me crazy, and this is not a good deal. I don't know what Mitch McConnell's thinking. It's not a good deal. It's a deal. We're moving the ball forward a little bit, but we really need to be protecting our borders. I was down there a few weeks back, and it is a crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis, it's an environmental crisis, and it's a crisis of our nation that we're not able to protect our borders. They're absolutely porous, and people are just coming across the border willy-nilly, both for illegal conduct and for those people who think they can come up here and get free stuff. And, of course, there are some who want to share the American dream, and we ought to make that process easier for those who want to come here, work hard, and share the American dream. There are a lot of people who would like to do that, and we need to have that process too improved. But we've got to secure our border, and then we can. All things are on the table if we can secure that border. Right now, there seems to be no will in the Senate or on the Democrat side to truly protect our southern border.
Well, here's the question. I mean, we have this conversation with everybody every day about the same thing over and over. Yep. Porous border, no barrier, people coming over by the hundreds, caravans coming, the president using the last 90 days to talk about criminal activity. And, one of the things that he finally started saying again is, look, it's also an economic drag for low-income workers, which has been my argument for, 40 years, basically. It's why I'm opposed to it. And you flood the market with low-educated, low-skill workers, you depress wages. And that's why businesses in Wall Street fund the Republicans that look the other way for catch and release. We've been over this 100 times. So we'll understand it, right? But nothing gets done. And here's to the life of me, I can't understand going into 2020, Congressman, and help me understand this. The Democrats are going to have to run on open borders, right? Because every policy they put in place doesn't want to stop anybody from coming into the United States. So how do they win a campaign in 2020 based on the positions on lack of border security? I mean, is a majority of Americans really going to say, yeah, I don't care who comes in, just open them up and let us fund it all? Is that their plan? Is that their political strategy?
Well, I can't tell you what their strategy is. I think they've made a lot of political mistakes in the last few weeks. If that's their strategy, I think they win New York, they win Los Angeles and San Francisco, and they lose vast territory in between. And they'll have the same situation they had last time. They'll be scratching their heads and yelling about the Electoral College because they hate Trump and how could he possibly get elected. But most Americans outside of those eastern cities and western cities out of the two coasts, most Americans don't want our borders to be unprotected. They don't want the illegal drugs coming across. They want to put a stop to the human trafficking that's coming across their southern border, and they want us to act like we are, in fact, a nation as opposed to just a destination.
I don't know what message they're going to take into 2020. I really don't, with this open border situation. And I was on with Sheriff Clark a few moments ago, and I'm just befuddled by the fact that lawyers are now suing the United States government, which means they're suing us, taxpayers that live here. They want $6 million apiece for every illegal alien that crashed the border, was apprehended by an agent, and then, as following the U.S. law, separated from their minor children, as happens if you rob a 7-Eleven and you're apprehended going into your car and you have 2 kids in there, you're separated. So it is amazing to me. You come to the country, you break the law to get in, and then you sue the government for arresting you for breaking the law, and you want $6 million apiece. And like, everybody's all right with this?
Well, a lot of people aren't all right with that. And I will tell you now, the problem is in the last 60, 70, maybe 80 years, we've thought that we know so much more than everybody before us, and we're going to do it all so much better. But there's a common law theory. It's called ex turpi causa, which means if a cause arises out of an illegal act, you do not have a cause of action for something bad that may have happened to you as a result of your illegal act. And I would hope that our lawyers would use that. Whether or not our courts will pay any attention to equity and the common law, I can't tell you, because I've been frustrated with the courts before. But I have made that argument successfully as a lawyer, that if you committed an illegal act to begin with, you don't have a cause of action arising out of it. And that's exactly what we have here. An illegal act with a cause arising out of that illegal act, there's no suit, no lawsuit. We can all agree that it shouldn't have happened the way it did in certain circumstances in particular, but there's no cause of action, in my opinion.
It is insanity beyond the pale that you could sue the government for arresting you after breaking the law. I mean, it's just mind-boggling that people would even do this. Okay, let's get to the Russia investigation, Congressman. I know many of us are frustrated with it. Richard Burr, who's the chairman of the Senate Intel Committee, Richard Burr is a pretty straight shooter, right? I mean, you know him. He's a colleague of yours in the upper chamber, but a very solid guy, very measured, rarely goes out there on a limb with anything, and especially takes his job as Intel chair very seriously. Well, he came out with a statement the other day, yesterday, I believe, and he said, look, 2 years, 300,000 pages of documents, 200 witnesses. I have no evidence in my committee of any Russian collusion whatsoever. None, zero, doesn't exist. Yeah, we have evidence of dumb things they did, like meetings that didn't make any sense and Paul Manafort's situation. But he said there's absolutely no evidence that I have of any collusion whatsoever. Mark Warner, Virginia, ranking member, says, well, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on it until all the investigations are done. We still have more witnesses to interview and more, I guess, another 300,000 pages of documents. And so I'm going to reserve judgment until the end. There's smoke, there's fire. We're still following the truth, etc. All blah, blah, blah. But Warner, here's what he didn't say. Look, there is evidence. I have some of it. I've seen some of it. So, whoa, hold your horses. No, he never said that. He said, I'm going to reserve comment until the end. So, and now we've got the former, this is the final thing I'll say, the former counsel for the president, Dowd, his lawyer, saying that he went over every single thing that Mueller had. And he says, it's likely that when he does his report, there's nothing in it. Or he said he might not even do one. Where does this end?
Well, it needs to end soon. I mean, if they don't have anything, they don't have anything. And I agree with you. If Warner had something, he might not have told us what it was, but he would have said, I have seen things that indicate to me something is going on. He didn't say that.
Right.
You're absolutely right. And at some point, this has to come to an end. There has to be a conclusion for the good of the country. They've had an investigation, 2 years. What'd you say, 300,000 documents?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, folks. You don't have anything. Give it up. Move on. Let's get something else done.
I'm dumbfounded today by these series of events. I got to tell you, Congressman, I don't know what the Democrats are going to talk about or do when it's finally concluded that nothing exists and the Russian investigation, the collusion investigation, has been the biggest hoax ever put on the American people. And what do the Democrats do? What does Maxine Waters do? What do some of your colleagues, Adam Schiff, what do? Now they're saying, well, they're going to maintain their own investigation and do a fishing expedition on his tax returns. I really think, Congressman, this is going to backfire on them. I mean, either Mueller's got something or not, but let's be done with it, right?
Well, I would agree with that, but like those folks that keep looking for the Loch Ness Monster, I guess they'll just keep looking.
Nothing there whatsoever. So the president says he's going to sign this bill, depending on what it is, and then he says, I've got other money I'm going to move around to try to put there. Would you expect that to be immediately challenged?
The moving the money around would not be as easy to challenge in court, but they'll come up with some reason to challenge an emergency declaration. They will immediately challenge, although, we've had emergency declarations by the dozens in the past, and, things as simple as, and not saying they weren't emergencies, but getting ready for bird flu. Those kinds of things, certainly what we have going on the southern border would qualify, and I think the president would win, but there would be legal action brought immediately. But if he just moves money around, he has the authority to do that. Congress has given him that authority. I think there will be some sort of a challenge to it, but I think that will lose as well, and the president will be able to move that money around, and we'll be able to build some more wall. This money that they're giving only goes to Texas. I went and visited the border in Arizona. That little thin piece of rope that separates our country from the hordes coming across at that one point on the border I was at is inadequate. And I hope the president will move some money around so that we can do something in the Arizona border as well.
We're with Congressman Morgan Griffith, 9th District Republican, Virginia. So, Congressman, it sounds like what you're saying is this bill is going to pass. He gets some money, a little bit, for reinforcing some of the Texas area, but then he's going to attempt to take other money, move that. Democrats will file a lawsuit, might stop it temporarily, but you're saying constitutionally he's got the authority for that, and then basically you do what you can, and you take the whole campaign on border security, immigration reform, you take it into 2020. I mean, that's the way I see it playing out. Am I right or wrong?
You're right on that, and of course we've got so many other issues: the Green New Deal, the abortion at birth or after birth. That was Exhibit A is Virginia, Exhibit B is New York. All of these issues are coming out. These are not things that the mainstream American public, the middle-of-the-road people, are like, wait a minute, I might think of myself as pro-choice, but I'm not for killing babies. At the time of birth, I might be wanting us to move a little bit quicker towards some greener energies, but I'm not for getting rid of airline service. Those are the extremes that people have choice. You want those extremes? Or do you want something that's far more reasonable, which is the conservative alternative?
I think the position they're heading now is kind of wacky, especially this Green New Deal. Normally, I take exception with whatever Mitch McConnell does, except I do have to compliment him for the way he's gotten so many lower court judges through the system. I do compliment him on that. But I thought it was a brilliant move on his part to bring the Green New Deal up to vote in the Senate. And I know there's a lot of senators that want nothing to do with that, and they don't want to go on the record one way or the other. So that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and how he's going to make them, put in the green card or the red card or just vote present. Congressman, we're out of time. I want to thank you for being with us. Thank you so much. Congressman Morgan Griffith. More information, griffith.house.gov.